Alongside Francesca Page, J.D. Hayworth welcoming you back to America's Forum. Francesca, I heard you and John Bachman lamenting the fact that so many young people have chosen not to avail themselves of political participation.
Yeah, it's something that is close to my heart, having studied it. I hope that more young people do get engaged in politics.
Well, the situation is that we say in terms of being a smart shopper, caveat emptor, buyer beware. And for everyone in life, I guess it's a matter of voter beware. For younger people, Generation Opportunity releasing its monthly Millennial Jobs Report, it paints a very bleak picture. The report finds that over 15% of young people out of work during the month of June. And here to discuss the findings of this report, we have Patrice Lee, who is the outreach manager for Generation Opportunity. Patrice, thank you for availing yourself of this opportunity to join us to talk about your generation. Can you drill down the findings of this report for us, and what aspect of the data did you find most troubling?
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, the entire report is frankly quite troubling. I mean, when you consider that from 18 through 29-year-olds, as you mentioned, the unemployment rate is 15.2%. Now, this is the effective unemployment rate, so it adjusts for those who've actually given up looking for work. And we've calculated that to be about 1.9 million young adults. So when you think about it, there are 1.9 million young people who have frankly given up looking for a job.
And what logically follows, Patrice, is to take a look at those numbers for the millennial generation. Do millennials have a higher unemployment rate than other demographic groups?
Currently, they do have a higher unemployment rate. And unfortunately, what we're having is new classes of young people graduating from college with 4-year degrees and even 2-year degrees, but unable to find work. And they're battling, or they're fighting in the job market against their parents and grandparents who are still struggling to look for work as well.
Patrice, your report drilled down the unemployment rate for 18 to 29-year-olds by race and also, I think, by sex. We see that for African Americans, the effective unemployment rate is over 22%. For Hispanics, it hovers over 16%. For women, over 12%. What do you think is driving the disparity in unemployment that we're seeing here?
So I think what you're seeing is that for African Americans and for Hispanics, that they are not able to find the work that they need, especially given the skill sets that they have. For other demographics as well, and for men as well, or for young women, they may be college educated, or they may have other levels of education that gives them a slight edge in the marketplace. But for those who don't have those edges, it's pretty difficult to find work. And then for, I think we see that entrepreneurship is a great opportunity for young people, but when you have government regulations that also inhibits or creates barriers to entry, they're not even able to create their own opportunities.
Patrice, I want to take you back a few years when we were all a bit younger, and for a guy who is advancing chronologically, that's important for me. But way back in 2009, during his first ever weekly address, after being sworn in as President of the United States, Barack Obama made several promises to millennials. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We'll invest more in Pell Grants to make college affordable for 7 million more students. Provide a $2,500 college tax credit to 4 million students. And triple the number of fellowships in science to help spur the next generation of innovation.
Patrice, you heard the outline of some fairly lofty goals. Has he accomplished any of those goals thus far in his administration?
I don't think he has, and that's probably why so many young people don't think that they're willing to actually recall the president, and his approval rating among our generation is so much lower than when he was first brought into office. I think young people are tired of the government promising broken promises by the government and frankly the president of more government money. What they actually need is the ability to be able to create their own opportunities. And so I talked a little bit about entrepreneurship, and we see that as a great way of our generation leveraging their skills and their passions and their interests for something that they could create themselves. When it comes to student loans, we'll be getting into the debate about the student loan debt and what drives that. But what drives the cost of colleges, frankly, is the fact that you can get so much government money to spend, government money to pay for it. So what we don't need is more government money. We need government kind of stepping out of the way and allowing the individual to create their own opportunities.
This talk of entrepreneurship, this trend of entrepreneurship that I think is right now on the horizon, and creating these opportunities, how do you believe the government needs to help and assist in creating these opportunities for entrepreneurship for these generations?
Sure. So there are lots of industries where we call them barriers to entry. So they're kind of regulatory schemes that are set up to protect those who are already in the industry. And it locks out new innovators who can come in. You know, a great example is ride sharing across the country. Companies like Lyft and Uber. A lot of Lyft and Uber drivers are young people who are financing their education or trying to make ends meet while they look for a job. And now you have cities and states saying, hey, we don't want your companies coming in here, these individuals to come in and be able to provide the services that they have access to. And so that's a way of government locking out entrepreneurs, especially millennials, who are trying to drive these changes using technology. We've been supportive of new innovations and individuals who have great ideas, taking it to the marketplace and allowing the marketplace to decide what's the best for the economy.
Patrice, you made mention of the fact that there is so much governmental funding available for education, specifically higher education. We know early in the Obama administration, the government took over virtually the entire financing program for college education. Should the government step back from that massive involvement?
So the government decides what role it wants to play in education. I think that we see, based on how higher education costs have risen alongside the accessibility to federally funded or government subsidized loans, that there's a correlation there. So what we're saying is that, you know, the more money that government provides for people to pay for colleges, is there more of an incentive colleges have to rise to increase their own costs on an annual basis. We need to kind of be creative and think less about more government money and more about what is going to provide young people with the opportunities and the kind of education that they need to really become productive citizens. And maybe it's not more money coming from the government to get a four-year degree. Maybe it's us looking at other opportunities to help young people take their passions and their skills and provide them with the education they need, maybe through apprenticeships, maybe through even two-year colleges and other things that allows them to then become what they need to do to become the entrepreneurs.
Patrice Lee, we will leave it right there. We thank you for your perspective from Generation Opportunity. And we will be back with more on America's Forum.